Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Around the Slice Entertainment YouTube channel. As promised, I am here today to give you my initial review for Superman, which I saw yesterday on opening day, which was Thursday, July 10th. So, for the structure of this review, I'm going to tell you what I like, what I didn't like, and honestly, I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys right off the bat here. I only have a couple nitpicks that I didn't enjoy necessarily. Otherwise, this was an awesome movie. And then I'm going to give you a final score out of 10. But before we dive into the review itself and get into all that, I want to give you some background about my DC journey, if you will, in this universe as a whole and my experience with it. So, if you didn't know, which I don't know how you would, but I've only seen about 3 or 4 DCEU movies in my life. I believe those are Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Dawn of Justice, that is, and Suicide Squad. Like the one from years ago, not the Suicide Squad, like the original Suicide Squad. And, Man of Steel was really good. Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, I didn't like. And Suicide Squad was just okay. So, I've always been more of a Marvel guy. If you know me, you know that. I've always been more of a Marvel and MCU guy than anything DC. But with James Gunn now taking over this universe and being named the head of DC, I was very excited for him basically resetting the universe, rebooting everything pretty much because obviously he's the head writer on all 3 Guardians of the Galaxy films, which all 3 I absolutely adore and absolutely love the characters in that whole universe. So I was very excited for Superman, and I really liked Creature Commandos, which was kind of a soft kickoff, but this was the real kickoff to the new DCU going ahead in the future. So, yeah, that's just my experience with the DCEU and now the DCU and the whole universe as a whole, obviously. So, what I liked, I'm going to present multiple points here that I liked and a couple of nitpicks, honestly, that I didn't like. These are in no specific order of importance. These are just kind of general thoughts that I wanted to throw out there because for an awesome movie. Right off the bat, I really enjoyed how this movie started in the whole beginning of this movie, throwing us right into this universe. We throw us right into this story, and James Gunn does not waste any time with giving us this big setup and exposition dump. This isn't always, but I think too often and too many times, if you will, too often comic book movies treat us like we're idiots and like we've never seen the films before. If we're diehard fans going to the movies as the opening day and day one, Marvel does this a lot. We don't need to reset the whole universe every single time. We know who the characters are. We know what the universe is. We know what the story is. We're diehard fans for a reason. So I really like that this iteration, this Superman movie, James Gunn threw us right into the plot. He didn't waste us any time with giving us Superman's origin story. That's what Man of Steel is for. I know he's resetting the universe, but if you haven't seen Man of Steel, I highly recommend that because that's where his origin story lies. And I really like that James Gunn and his team recognize that, and we don't need another exposition dump. We've seen Man of Steel. We know Superman's origin story. We've given multiple times. We don't need, well, here's the character, and this is where Superman came from. We don't need to see him flying into Earth and them spending the first half hour, 45 minutes saying what he's here for and blah, blah, blah. Get straight to the point, and that's what I really like that James Gunn really, really did. So I thought that was a good choice. I know I've heard some people not complaining, but pointing out that it was kind of jarring for them to throw right into the story, but I loved it. Like, I love the fast-paced nature of that whole thing. Next point, I want to talk about David Corenswet because obviously this isn't Henry Cavill. I thought Henry Cavill did a terrific job in Man of Steel. I have nothing else to reference, obviously, from this universe and from Superman iterations as a whole because the only Superman movie I've seen, and as I just explained, one of the few DC movies I've seen in my entire life was Man of Steel, which I loved. I'll say it again. But so Henry Cavill was amazing in that. But David Corenswet, the new actor for Superman here, I thought he did a terrific job. And something specifically that I want to point out, I thought he did an excellent job with balancing both the human element and the superhero side of his character. I thought he portrayed both Clark Kent and Superman in a very, very good light, and I thought he did an excellent job with it. Would I like to see a little more character interactions with like Clark Kent and Lois Lane and some other people? and Clark Kent was in the movie a bit more, sure, but like who cares when he's balancing both characters like that? So I really, really enjoyed that. I thought he did a terrific job with balancing both Clark Kent and Superman. I wanted to point that out specifically for David Cornsweet. Obviously, he's not Henry Cavill, but like I thought he did a good job with that specifically. And then I really enjoy the characters in this movie. Obviously, James Gunn is known for giving us in-depth characters, especially with Creature Commandos, Guardians of the Galaxy, who a ragtag team of group of characters, if you will, that we never heard about before, but we come to know and love and support. And I think this movie's characters were top notch, whether it was Lois Lane and Mr. Terrific, whether it was Superman and his parents. That's what stood out to me, adopted parents in Kansas. That's what stood out to me. Ma and Pa were terrific. I really enjoyed the emotional scene with Pa when he's saying he's really proud of him in this story. So yeah, but specifically the character interactions were the highlight of this film for me. Obviously, when you go into a Superman film, obviously when you go into any superhero film in general, especially DC, you're expecting a lot of action. You're expecting nonstop hype moments. You're expecting nonstop action, rather. But this movie really takes its time with setting up certain characters and James Gunn's signature character care for characters, if you will, and it takes its time with character interactions. I really like the pairings in this movie. It's a total opposite of Man of Steel. I'll keep saying it. I absolutely adore and love Man of Steel, but that movie is like bam, 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 nonstop action, extremely action heavy. And yes, while there's action scenes here and there, because it's a Superman movie in this one, in this iteration, it's really about the characters. The heart and soul of the movie is really about the characters and their interactions with one another. The Daily Planet, Lois Lane, Perry, everybody has great interactions with each other. So I really like that, the care, that James Gunn's signature care for characters. Lex Luthor, holy hell, Lex Luthor, what an extremely well-written villain, and you come to hate him right off the bat, and as the story goes on and near its end, but basically right off the bat, you come to hate him with every single ounce of your body, as you should. I mean, I'm at a loss for words how well written, and Lex Luthor's dialogue was so conniving in this movie, so convincingly evil. It was just the way he talked to Superman, and right off the bat, quick spoiler here, when he shoots that guy in the head in the jail where Superman and a couple other people are being held, like, he ain't messing around, boy. Like, such a well-written villain. Lex Luthor, he debuted, from what I saw, obviously, in Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. And no shade to Jamie Eisenberg. He's obviously a great actor, but in that movie specifically, that version of Lex Luthor was just not it for me, and everyone agrees from what I've seen and heard in the past. But Lex Luthor in this movie, he was so conniving. He was so convincingly evil. Every single dialogue was just like palpitating. You come to hate him with every ounce of your body. I just can't get over how well written and well rounded of a character Lex Luthor was in the most evil way and best way possible. Now, I said the character interactions were heart and soul of this movie, and not nearly as much action scenes and sequences as something like a Man of Steel. But like when those action sequences did hit, they hit. Like they were very boom, fast paced, a lot of characters involved, a lot going on. And I know some people think that the story is kind of jumbled from what I've seen, and like there's a lot of plot points going on, especially in the second half towards the end of the movie with Lex Luthor, Crypto, and all them. But I really enjoyed the fast-paced nature. I really enjoyed all the plot points coming together, jumbled or not. So the action scenes, there weren't nearly as many. Some past iterations, I'll bring up Man of Steel again specifically because that's the only past iteration of Superman I've seen, unfortunately. But yeah, I really enjoyed all of the comedy in this movie. Marvel, that whole MCU, that whole universe, they're known for oversaturated comedy, especially now in phase 4 and 5. So we'll have to see what phase 6 kicking off with Fantastic Four First Steps in a couple of weeks, which I'm very hyped for. But DC specifically, there was not really any comedy in Man of Steel. There was not really Dawn of Justice. There was not really any comedy in Suicide Squad. Very subtle hints here and there. But I thought the comedy in this film worked. Every joke hit for me, and it didn't overshadow any emotional moments like Marvel. Like like Thor: Love and Thunder was horrible with that. Jane's talking about cancer and then Thor's making a joke, like it doesn't add up. And I thought the comedy, it worked for the moment in Superman in this movie. It worked for what they were going for. So I thought all the comedy in this movie was pretty funny. I chuckled out loud multiple times even. Now Crypto. The advertising was absolutely the dog. The advertising was absolutely big on Crypto. But this whole summer, whole spring, when this movie was first even freaking talked about a couple of years ago, Crypto was everywhere. Crypto this, Crypto that. So I was fearful that he was just going to be like a mascot, if you will, like just follow Superman around and be the movie's mascot for advertising and marketing purposes. But like, no, damn, I was surprised how involved he was in the story when he just rips up Lex Luthor's face at the end and rips up his leg and all that. That was really like so satisfying. Like, damn, bro, yes, like that was so encouraging to see. Hate him so much in the most evil and best way possible, of course. But like Crypto surprisingly had a lot to do. Like there were some plot points that involved Crypto heavily and a consequence of his actions and what he did. So he wasn't just a mascot like I was fearful. I was like, he was actually involved quite a bit more, surprisingly more than I thought. Now, those are my just not in order general positives. I don't want to even call these couple things negative. It's just a few nitpicks, some minor tweaks I would have made and I didn't necessarily partake and enjoy too. Lois Lane, kind of, I think pretty easily the weakest character in this whole movie. I wish she had a little more, not a lot more, just a bit more, a little more to do in this movie because she was just kind of standing around too many times for me. Her dialogue wasn't the best. Her interactions with other characters wasn't the best. So I kind of wish that she had more to do. She wasn't a part of the story as much as I would have hoped. Like in Man of Steel, she's very impactful when she makes her debut, but I don't know. Something felt off about her in this movie. And then second and last, like I don't want to call it negative, just nitpick. I talked about the character interactions, so like James Gunn makes us care about these characters. I wish there were more emotional beats in this movie. And it has nothing to do with the jokes and comedy overshadowing that. I already talked about that. Excellent balance of those two things and pacing. I wish there were a bit more emotional beats in this movie, especially considering James Gunn's background, especially that's where he specializes in emotional characters, deep, emotional, ragtag, troubled past characters. I wish there were emotional moments, emotional scenes, and a few more emotional beats. I thought it was lacking some emotion. But anyway, obviously the positives far outweigh the negatives. I'm going to give this movie a 9.5 out of 10. Again, just those minor nitpicks about Lois Lane and the lack of emotional beats and stuff, in my opinion. Hold it back from a 10 out of 10, but 9.5 out of 10. I am so in for one, because it's James Gunn, but two, like the DCU, it's not nearly as dark in the past. It's way more family friendly than in the past, and that's what James Gunn specializes in. I just want to give you guys how I'm feeling about comic book movies right now. So Captain America: Brave New World, much better than everyone hated it, much better in my opinion than everyone thought, pretty much. Thunderbolts, excellent movie in my opinion. Only a few minor nitpicks here and there I had. Superman, I just gave this a 9.5 out of 10 in this review. And then we have Fantastic Four First Steps on July 25th in a couple of weeks, which I am so hyped for. If we hit that, that's like 3 or 4 comic book movies in a row that like I enjoyed, and at least the last 3 that everyone has really enjoyed, great to excellent. So I think comic book movies are back. I'm so hyped for Fantastic Four. And this Superman movie has evoked some emotion for me. It's made me want to go back to projects like the Christopher Reeve Superman, which people view as a classic, but especially JLU. Those animated Justice League Unlimited episodes, I've heard great things about that. I love great animation. I love great animation directors, so I'm for sure going to check those out. And that's everything you could hope, dream, and want from a comic book movie to evoke emotion. You want to come out of a comic book movie feeling excited for the future and wanting to go back and say, hey, I haven't checked that out. Let me check that out, or let me revisit that for the second or third time. In my case, I'm definitely going to be checking out JLU, Justice League Unlimited episode, for the first time. And you guys can follow me on Twitter at AWagner13 to follow along with that. I will absolutely give you my initial thoughts, and maybe we can do a review, a ranking of seasons and all that. I don't know. I just felt like a kid again coming out of this movie, and comic book movies are so back, in my opinion. So tell me down in the comments below. Are you excited for the future of the DCU? What do you think about James Gunn after having a soft kickoff, if you will, with Creature Commandos, his first full-length 2-hour movie/film in the new DCU going forward. What would you give this movie out of 10? I'll remind you once again, I gave it a 9.5 out of 10. Yeah, once I see the Christopher Reeve Superman and a couple of the others, 1 or 2 of the others, we can definitely come back on this YouTube channel and say, hey, let's do a ranking of all 4 or 5 of them. So or however many there are. And then follow me along on my Justice League Unlimited journey, as I'll be firing that up in the next day or 2, of course, on my Twitter. Once again, handle at @AWeingarten13. So yeah, that was basically my review for Superman. I just can't get over how good this was. It's everything we wanted. It's everything we needed. Only a few minor nitpicks with some tweaks here and there, but 9.5 out of 10 for me. I will see you guys in the next video. Again, if you didn't see my, comeback video, I told you that I'm back because I'm bringing this Around the Slice Entertainment YouTube channel. Excuse me, back. We're going to start with a couple episodes a week. Not podcast, so a couple of videos a week and go from there, talking about movies and TV shows. There's a couple I'm watching through right now, and then JLU, obviously. So I will see you guys on the next video, whenever that is, in a few days. Thank you so much for watching the Superman review today. And if you haven't seen it, please go see it. See it a second time. See it a third time. I don't care. It's awesome. So I'll see you guys on the next video. Thank you for the support as always. Goodbye.